And the applicants will all be here this afternoon, at least I feel like they will. And so if you want to, there'll be an opportunity to talk to the applicants about their projects right then and there. I mean, this will be a setting for you all to do as much as you want to do in a setting. All right, so that's that. There's a Triumph Board meeting in Wakulla County tomorrow, November 8th, that I can't attend at the direction of the board. There's also a Triumph Board meeting in December in Panama City that I can also attend. So if the board wants to take direction to send myself, or if the chairman wants to go, that's certainly fine. But I'm here to go if you want me to.
I think he needs to go, so
I'll
I'd like
make
to
a
have
motion for Alan to go.
There we go. We have a motion. Second by Commissioner Lockley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I want to clarify, we're talking about both, correct? Or
Correct.
just one? Okay.
Okay.
We do have a motion and a second. Any further comment? All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, number 5, provide board with a copy of time extension for the completion of Gulf Shore Boulevard project. I have asked for an extension until July 2018. We're waiting for FEMA to approve the change of the scope of work so that we can access the $456,000 worth of FEMA funds already obligated for that project to build a permanent road. And I'll just reiterate for the benefit of the public, because the commission knows this, is that we had a PW written after, I can't even remember the name of the storm, it's been so long. It was in 2013. We had a we had a big storm surge come in there, wiped out the road. FEMA wrote a PW for $456,000 to rebuild the road in its current location. The state of Florida comes in and says you can't do that because it's going to be on the beach. We all agree it's going to be on the beach. We had to go through this long process to relocate the road, but we couldn't we couldn't get FEMA to approve the change of scope until we had these other things done, including an easement from the state of Florida, including this environmental assessment for the Gulf Shore. So it took all this time, and now finally, after the EA has been completed and they agree that yes, we need to relocate the road, now we have to get FEMA to agree to change the scope of work for the very funds they already have allocated for this project. It's very frustrating. And we've been waiting since, well, really just since August to get FEMA to change the scope of work. I hope it happens by December, which then gives us time to finish the design on that road, go out to bid, and get it built before July 2018. This process has been at least 7 years in the making. It's just very frustrating. And it's very frustrating to people who live on Gulf Shore Boulevard. Okay, the next item, I have spoken to Commissioner Sanders. She's not here this morning. If the board doesn't want to take action this morning, that's fine, but I have spoken to her. She supports the application. Informed the board that I was in contact with state hazard mitigation personnel, and the state recommends the board submit an application to purchase the Alligator Point Fire Department building on Alligator Point and the vacant lot next door. The purchase would allow the county to relocate the west end of Tom Roberts further away from the shore. The west end was slightly damaged during Hurricane Hermine and is now exposed to continued damage. The purchase would remove 2 curves in the current alignment of the road. The purchase would also provide the fire department with some funds to begin construction of a new fire station in a safer location, which is on the property that they were given by the St. Joe Company a number of years ago. The purchase would be contingent upon an appraisal acceptable to the fire department. So if you all want to wait for Commissioner Sanders today or next meeting, that's fine, but I did talk to her about it. And the first step would be, actually, if the board wants to move forward with this, for me to get the application from the state hazard mitigation people and fill it out like we did on the purchase of the Capital City property. You know, we have to find get a suitable appraisal done. I'm not sure who will pay for that. So there's a number of things that will be done before we actually submit something. But if you all want to wait for Commissioner Sanders and her comments, that's certainly fine.
Okay. Was she fine with us moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to her before I wrote this, and I asked her to kind of bring it up. This is not knowing she was going to be here. She said yes. She thinks it's a good idea. Yes. I mean, I didn't ask her last night when I realized she wasn't going to be here. You know, do you want me to have the board vote on this? I didn't ask that direction. So
is this a time sensitive
It's
issue?
not time sensitive. So we can wait. We can wait till this afternoon if she's here, or November 15th or November 21st, the next meeting. If you prefer, we can wait till the 21st.
Pleasure of the board. You want to table it or you want to take action?
I'd rather table it when she gets here.
That's
Is that in the form of a motion?
Form of motion.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Massey to table item number 6. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lockley. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
And just not too confusing, I'll just bring it up on November 21st because it's happening. Let's just reserve that for Triumph and not confusing. So I'll bring it up on the 21st. So it's not a problem. Okay, as I previously reported, the county was subjected to a U.S. Treasury compliance review of our restore program. The review took place last February, March 2017. The findings were received at the end of September. The county is required to respond and address each finding, so for the past few weeks, the county staff is developing responses. One of the findings involved the Dewberry contract. The initial Dewberry contract listed some of the contractors Dewberry intended to use, but not all. Treasury requires all the subcontractors to be in the contract along with their cost of services. The two subcontractors left out were Environment and Ecology and the University of West Florida. Both these subs have provided services and were paid, but in order to prevent a clawback by Treasury of those funds we paid them, the Dewberry contract needs to be amended to include those two subs and the rates they were paid. Board action to amend the Dewberry contract contingent upon the county attorney approving the amendment. It's a two-page amendment, just lists these two subs, but I haven't shown it to Mr. Schuler yet. So I would recommend board action to approve the amendment so we can get that issue resolved.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Commissioner Massey. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? I've been keeping up with this, Alan, and I've read this review by Treasurer a couple of different times, and I was wondering where we was going and if steps were being taken to correct these issues.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I was out of town for a while, as you know, Commissioner, so when I got back, we're trying to wrap this up. I hope to have a conference call next week with Treasury and go through where we're at. There were no, there were no structural problems the way we're handling your store, but Treasury runs things with a fine-tooth comb, and this is going to be an example of what we can expect as we get into projects. And I can just tell you, this is just the beginning, not the end of it.
We're kind of learning as we go.
Yes.
So anyway, we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further comments?
Yeah, that all, is that gonna take care of all that now?
Well, the other stuff is not anything you have to act on. There were some internal things that the Treasury wanted us to handle differently between finance and the county. So we're doing that. That's nothing for you all to act on. There was a number of findings in the report. I mean, I gave it to you all. But to my knowledge, this is the only thing that you all need to act. We had to amend the contract to list these two other subs. We are creating a grants manual, Commissioner Lockley, that will address, we hope, most of the other Treasury comments, and I take back what I said. We may have you all have to adopt the grants manual. I don't know whether Treasury will make, I suspect you all will have to adopt the grants manual, but it's going to come in with my recommendation, Michael Schuler, everybody's recommendation. We adopt this grants manual to be applicable to all federal grants. It's something that most of the other counties are doing or have done, and so I expect we will also have to do it. We have Debbie Belcher, who's very familiar with federal grants. She's working on a grants manual for us. We haven't seen the draft yet, but I suspect that, at some point we will provide a grants manual to you for adoption. Whether it's before November 30th and the deadline, I don't know yet. I don't know whether the Treasurer is going to require you to adopt it first, or do they want to review it first. I just don't know. But we are working. That really is the other big thing that has to be done as a grants manual. But we probably should have had it all along anyway. But this is, Commissioner, all I can say is that, on the restore stuff, the money is coming to the county no matter who else gets it. We are responsible for all the applicants and all the sub-applicants, and it's going to be a financial burden on the county to try and keep these projects straight once we get into restore. Now, we put off a timeline to restore until January to see, partly to see what else we want to do regarding Alligator Point. And so you won't hear much about restore until January when we see where we're at there. And that's the end of my report until this afternoon.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor. I think we still need to
I'm
vote.
sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
I have something for
Yes,
Alan. Will you explain to the public where the money come to build Ells Court?
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we actually had an opportunity here that fell into our laps that we were not expecting. The money, there were two grants that were available. One was a federal grant to buy the property. It was a federal grant that had nothing to do with any program Franklin County had ever received or ever worked on ever in my 30 years here. It was a federal grant to buy and preserve wetlands and coastal marine hammocks, which is what they call oak stands along the shoreline. Oak stands along the shoreline used to be prolific everywhere. You had a beach environment, you'd see the trees sculpted with the wind. I mean, it was fairly common. But because of overdevelopment along the shore of Florida everywhere, that coastal hammock had become an endangered ecosystem. And so this federal government had put out money to save those kind of hammocks. And Ells Court itself had pretty much, reduced the hammock in its site to nothing. But on either side, there were still oak hammocks there along the US 98. So with the help of Doug Hadaway and the Trust for Public Land, I want to get it next, TPL, we applied for federal money to buy that property. And it would say we'd never known it was available. It was nothing that we'd ever looked for because, you know, usually, as you know, the county doesn't buy land. We already have so much land in public ownership that we are not always, we usually don't seek more money to buy land. But this is a unique situation. Doug Hadaway actually said, man, you know, you've got the coastal hammock on either side. You got the bad curve there. Commissioner Sanders, you know, we've always had a fatality there. There's an opportunity maybe to, because it was property that could be developed for commercial. It was a commercial site there, and rather than put another commercial enterprise there and have traffic turning in there and possibly of other more accidents, you know, it was in the best interest of the public to buy that property. And this environment, this money was available to purchase a marine hammock from a source. It was a federal fish and wildlife grant, and Doug Hadaway knew about it. It was something we'd never run across, but he had it because with TPL they buy a lot of land. So he said, Franklin County, we think we have a source. So the board approved an application process. We paid TPL some money to assist us. We hired Dan Garlick at one point for environmental assessment of the property. Ultimately, we were not in, or initially we were not in the running, but one of the other projects above us dropped out. So then we became in the running. So we then received federal money with no cost to the taxpayers, no cost to any other program the county had ever run, to acquire this property. So we acquired the property, and in that grant application, all we were initially going to do was plant some oak trees back there. You know, it was for oak hammocks, so we're just going to put some trees back there. So we had 3 acres of land on 98, on the south side of where Ellis Court used to be. The property also came with 4 acres of land north of 98, but there used to be an old mobile home park there.
Park trailer.
That was more of a pine stand there, and we were going to put more pine trees back on the north side and then oak hammock on the south side. And that's all we were going to do. Again, at no cost to the county. TPO was going to manage the project for us. Then, after we buy the project, then this other source of money comes available. And this also was money never coming to Franklin County. This was money that the state of Florida got for early restoration of projects that they were handling. And for reasons that I can't explain, except it was just timing, we were selected by the state of Florida and said, since you just bought this coastal hammock, we have another $1 million that we would like to put into that project. And we have to manage that project, and it's money that we, the state of Florida, got, and we have to control the design, and we have to do it according to BP settlements. But if you want us to make improvements to that park at no cost to you all for money that you never would have gotten, you know, do you want to do that? So we came and we said, yeah, we would like to have more than just trees there. So you see construction starting now. It'll have a driveway in there. It'll have, you know, it'll have pavers that percolate the stormwater. It'll rebuild the 2 docks out there for fishing and kayak access and cast netting. There'll be a parking area there. That's about it. Will be there. And then on the north side, there'll be a little more vegetation planting. But this is money that was early restoration money that came to the state of Florida. They did 5 projects in the Panhandle. Franklin County was one. Panama City got one. I mean, they spread them out across the 8 counties. They basically were trying to show a distribution of the money in different places. And since we had just bought this park, that it was a prime opportunity for the state of Florida to spend money, not on land acquisition, which is a complaint that BP had. Don't keep buying land, you need to do something. So we already had a park that needed improvements, and so the state of Florida said, hey, do you want to do it? We said yes. I will tell you all that I initially didn't want that project. I initially wanted it on Alligator Point. I was trying to get Alligator Point fixed. But Alligator Point was too small and too complicated, and the state of Florida said, no, we're not going to do Alligator Point. I initially wanted to use that same money to buy the Capital City property that we just bought some other way. But I was trying to solve that problem out there first, and I was turned down. So then they said, well, what about this on Ellis Court? And I said, yeah, you know, and so the board agreed. So that's how the Ellis Court came. But it came with money from a source that we never had access to before, and we didn't control it. And it was either yes there or no to the county.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, let's go back to Mr. Steve Rash and Shannon Hartsfield. If you come forward, please state your name for the record.
Morning, Commissioners. Shannon Hartsfield, Seafood Work Association.
I'm Stephen Rash with the Water Street Seafood and the Smart Group. We're here today to inform the board of some of our actions and our intentions, and to make a request of the board. About 3 years ago, an industry group of oyster representatives tried to form a group or a management group or an advisory group to address the changing conditions in Apalachicola Bay. Primarily water flow in the river is the big change. And at the time, it wasn't the right time. The state of Florida didn't support it. Over the years, a lot of effort and a lot of money have been put into the bay. And unfortunately, in spite of a lot of hard work and whatnot, there hadn't been a lot of good results. What we're trying to do now is we're trying to bring everybody together in one place at one time, and we're going to meet every 2 weeks as a group. A member of FWC, a member of DAX, a member of DEP, a member of the Oyster Workers Association, a member of SMART Group, a member of the Seafood Dealers Association, a member of Apalachicola River Keepers, and we're here to request that the Board of Commissioners here appoint a commissioner to attend our groups and participate in our groups, and we ask that Smokey Parrish be that person. And our intent is to, I'll read you our mission statement. It's really, really simple. Our mission, and the name of this group is the Apalachicola Bay Oyster Task Force. We don't have any power, we don't have any authority. It's just an advisory board that's going to meet. Also a member of University of Florida Oyster Recovery Team is also on the board. The mission of the Apalachicola Bay Oyster Task Force is to design and support implementation of a comprehensive oyster recovery plan and a long-term management plan to increase the oyster populations in Apalachicola Bay to the maximum levels possible. It's really simple. Everybody knows what kind of shape the bay's in, and unfortunately, we didn't get started years ago. But I was somebody told me a saying once that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So we really are trying hard to bring together a group of people that can evaluate, based on science, based on statistics and facts and experience and knowledge, and bring all that together to be able to come up with a really solid plan to address the situation in Apalachicola Bay as it is now and try to make the best of it. Shannon, you want to add to
Make
that?
a motion.
I want to just add something. I don't know if y'all aware of this, but we're down to less than 30 oystermen in the bay working. I never thought that in my lifetime I'd see such a thing. But we've had some good results, but we've had some bad decisions on those areas. It's time for us to step up and make a change and do something to this county to rebuild this bay. Because with what we're getting in the last 5 years, it's not going to recover like it is. We're not going to get any more fresh water. So we need to really get our heads together, come up with a good plan, and try to have something in this bay in the future.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
If I may. How is this advisory group being created? I mean, who's creating this? The county or the state?
Nobody. We are. It's just a group of people getting together. We have no authority. We have no official designation other than a panel of people getting together, and we're going to meet every 2 weeks or more. We're going to ask participation from various scientists and various people. So,
Okay. And you want the county commission chairman or Commissioner Parrish to be a voting member on this board?
Correct.
yes, on some issues, I think there's going to be a number of issues that he wouldn't be able to vote on because
Certain
Conflict.
Commissioners, you have a policy that does not allow a county commissioner to sit on an advisory board and vote, and then also vote as a county commissioner on those recommendations. So the board needs to make a decision whether or not the chairman can be a voting member or not on this advisory board, and then also come back and vote, kind of like you do with the TDC. Commissioner Sanders is a member of the TDC board, and she also votes as a county commissioner. So it sounds like they want him to be able to vote, so I would recommend that you also include in that motion a waiver of that policy that would otherwise prevent that.
Let me ask you something real quick, Mike, before we have any motions made.
Sure.
I'd just like to state that there's going to be 5 voting members on this particular committee.
Okay.
And there's a number of ex officio members, such as DAX, DEP, FWC, AINER. I mean, there's a bunch of ex officio members that will not be voting members. There are 5 voting members. One would be a county commissioner, smart group, Mr. Rash stated. Shannon's representing the seafood workers. You got somebody representing the seafood dealers. Then you got Dan Tonsmeyer with the Apalachicola River Keepers NGO. So there's a broad spectrum of, there'll be 5 voting members, and the ex officio members will be bringing expertise. Where have they shelled? What are the results of the shelling? And we all know what's happening there. It's not being very productive. But I just want to state that's kind of the way the group is set up. Another issue is Commissioner Sanders not being here this morning. I don't know that we should take action on that. That's up to the board. Normally we don't do that without a full board. There's some things we just don't do, such as the one we just tabled earlier. I mean, some things we can move on and some things we can't. So I don't know who should recommend whether we wait on this till Commissioner Sanders is in her position, or should we take action this morning? I don't know. I guess that's kind of the pleasure of the board. I just know what we traditionally do.
That's correct, but I would point out to the board, I noticed that we are reconvening at 1:30, so you would have an opportunity to, I guess, have whatever the discussion that the board would like to have right now while they're present and among the board members, and then just defer your decision until we reconvene at 1:30 and then make a final decision on how to vote at that time once we reconvene. It sounds like Commissioner Sanders may be here in the afternoon when she finishes her doctor's appointment, possibly.
I want to open it up to see if any other commissioners have any questions or anything.
Our first meeting is going to be this Thursday at 3 o'clock. And again, we've got a member of FWC that's going to attend, a member of DAX, a member of DEP, a member of the University of Florida, Dan Tonsmeyer, Shannon, myself, Tommy Ward, and again, we asked the county commission to participate. So our hopes are that once we get this group together and we really get going, that when we make decisions, those decisions are, it's not like we're making a decision out in space and then we got to go take it to this board or FWC or somebody else. They've already been involved in the decisions, and so we're going to be able to really, hopefully, get down to the nitty gritty and hopefully get some things accomplished and move fairly quick also.
It's supposed to be a real comprehensive plan that's coming together to try to restore Apalachicola Bay. If you remember on October the 15th, I told the board and the public, 1 year from today, there'll be no bay. If we don't do something different than what we've been doing, because what we've been doing the last 5 years is not working. I also sent out, had Mr. Morone send out some statistical data of the money that has already been spent in this bay and where it went. No names mentioned, just round figures where the board would know how much money's been put in the bay, and we're worse off today than we were 4 or 5 years ago. So what do? Do you just sit back and do nothing? Or do we try to make some kind of changes that relates to the environmental conditions of today and try to change what we're doing to kind of match with the environmental conditions we got and try to move this thing forward? It's either that or we sit back, do nothing, and it's gone. So I don't know any other way to do it. I'm open for suggestions.
We gotta do something. I'll just make a motion to table if Ms. Sanders gets here at 1:30, as the lawyer said, and see what she has to say, then we can get a board where you can meet the meeting with them.
Right. And
Yeah, that is, let me clarify, that is the pleasure of the board, whether I'm the representative or anybody else on this board. It is up to this board. It's not up to them, it's not up to me, it's up to this board what we want to do to move forward.
Question.
Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Brad, you and Shannon, is the meeting, they gonna be open to the public?
It could be open to anybody. I mean, we have no authority. We have no authority. We have no power. It's a group of people from different areas that are going to get together and try to come up with a plan, and then try to get that plan accepted by the state of Florida and move forward with it. But sure, it can be open to anybody that wants to come.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully, this will be a short-term plan, something we can try to get something to come back, and then have a long-term plan. If we got to see what we can have for history. For instance, we had one good thing that happened over all the shelling that we done. Back in 2013, we shelled East Hole. It was closed for 16 months. Then it was open 4 days in the month of May, 1 day a week. There was 8,200 bushels harvested from them. And then when it's opened up after the summer harvesting area, and I don't know what the additional was harvested from, but it shows that it proves that the bay wants to survive. It wants to do it. We just got to figure out how to help it, recover.
I would like to second the motion that Commissioner Massey made, but I also like to say, having served a brief time on the commission, I do think the approach y'all are talking about, Mr. Rash and Mr. Hartsfield, is a good or a better approach than maybe we've had in the past. Because here's the thing, without everybody being at the table, there are too many loops to jump through and too many things, loose ends to try to tie up, and and I do agree some of what you said, and I've thought a lot about this last week. Trust me, I have, because we already knew that this was coming today. Yeah, it might have been better if it had been before, but at least it's now. I do agree with the design and the plan to get everybody there. I just hope everybody will take it as seriously as y'all act like you're going to do.
And one more, I make one more comment before we take a vote on the motion in a second, is I made it clear that if the restoration of Apalachicola Bay was not in the mission statement, was not the purpose of this committee, I would not participate.
Right.
I'm not here to do this and that. I'm here, or I would be willing to participate as long as the overall goal is the restoration of Apalachicola Bay so the seafood workers can actually go to work and make a living for their family. That's my intent. And also provide the water quality that this bay is going to need. If you lose these oysters, you're going to lose everything because there's nothing out there filtering out the contaminants. So we need to fight as long as and as hard as we can to restore the oyster industry in Apalachicola Bay, because I think it's detrimental to every other industry, seafood industry in this county, and probably a lot of the state of Florida. But we do have a motion in a second.
Let me say one thing.
Okay.
I'm with it, and I wish y'all good luck.
There's nobody on this group is getting anything out of it. There's no money involved. There's no, everything is for the good of the bay. There's nothing personal for anybody, and it's all voluntary. So, I think everybody's intentions are pretty straightforward and pure. And basically, if we take care of the bay, then ultimately the bay can take care of a lot of people, and the bay needs to be taken care of. So that's what we're out to do.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to be open, because people go around and say anything.
Yeah. Anybody that wants to come, can come anytime. You're welcome anytime. Anybody that wants to come can come. We can take all the help we can get. But
Yeah.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor, and the motion is to table this until 1:30 when Commissioner Sanders hopefully joins us and we have a full board, and then we can take action. So it's not like we're delaying it for 3 or 4 weeks, but we are delaying it a few hours, and whenever the board takes action, I'll have the administrator call and let you know what the results of that action
could I
is.
ask if it doesn't work out that way and you don't get to vote today, could somebody attend Thursday's meeting just in some fashion or capacity?
Well, can I say something? We'll get a vote. She can vote.
Okay.
If she can't make it, couldn't she vote over the phone, Mr. Shue? I mean, she can't.
No, sir. But you do have a quorum present, and as I'd indicated in my recommendation that you waive your current policy, which would otherwise prevent whoever the board selects from voting on the advisory board and then voting as a county commissioner on any action that may come from the advisory board. It is an extraordinary circumstance. I mean, the testimony from each one of the commissioners demonstrates this is an extraordinary circumstance. So let's just wait and see if Commissioner Sanders appears this afternoon. If she is able to be here, then that's fine. If not, then the board's in a position to make a decision if you need to.
Because we'll still have a quorum.
That is correct, Commissioner.
We'll give her the courtesy of waiting to 1:30.
Right.
If she doesn't show up, we'll take action. I think that's what I'm thinking.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Board recess 5 minutes.